All right, let's talk about Spencer Rattler. So Spencer Rattler, a guy who's had an interesting college career up until this point. There was a time when people thought he might be a first overall pick. Then people thought he wouldn't even be in the NFL. Now he's kind of come back to, a lot of people are viewing him as a potential, day 2 or day 3 pick. It's kind of a guy who probably will get drafted, but probably not in rounds 1 or 2. So I want to make a video, kind of go back, rewatch all of his most recent tape, the last year tape, and kind of just give my thoughts on him. What's good about him? What's bad about him? How do I view him? Yeah, let's just get into it, starting off with the play that you see on the screen. So this is going to be a man coverage concept that the defense is in. And for South Carolina, you see the way this is going to work. And in fact, Rattler's, what he's supposed to do on this play, I believe this is a design to roll out towards the top of the screen as well. So that's how this is working. Rattler is going to take the snap. He is going to, roll out right here. And is there a window? Kind of. I mean, this is certainly not a college window, right? This is more of an NFL type window right here. And Rattler is going to be off balance. So this is not a very easy throw for him to make. But one thing that he does a really good job of, I would say, is just make the throws that he has to make. A lot of what was happening in South Carolina was kind of these one-read style plays. Hey, this is your first read on this play. Try to get it open. And Rattler did a very good job of this stuff. Watch him make the accurate throw off balance. He is able to get the completion. They are able to pick up a first down on that play. So good job by, good job by everyone involved, not just Rattler, but definitely Rattler did a very good job on that one. And these are the kind of things that he does bring to the table. I also think I was surprised by, how well he moved. I thought he moved very well. Something like this, where it's going to be a designed quarterback run, actually, towards the offense's left. Here is the issue. That block right there. Well, watch what's going to happen when the guard tries to make this block. Right when it begins, you're going to see that right here, there is pressure right in Rattler's face. That's not good. You got to try to figure out a way to avoid that. Well, watch him really just run through him. Rattler did a pretty good job at breaking tackles, and you see him even get some more space after the fact. Very good in open space, very mobile, and that is a big positive attribute. It wasn't always in the scrambling. A lot of times it was with design runs, but he could scramble a bit as well, and that is something that you look at as something that he can bring to the table. Again, not saying he's Lamar Jackson out there, but it's a positive. And in fact, sometimes stuff like this was, to me, the most impressive part of that, where the way this is going to work is it's, that interior defensive lineman for Clemson, kind of two guys are kind of in that circle, but it's the interior defensive lineman who's going to be the key one to watch. Watch how when this play begins, there is pressure. This is something that, unfortunately, for Rattler was happening far too often, as there was constantly guys in his face. The offensive line was not great, and this is just something he had to deal with pretty frequently. But watch him get around this pressure, and he does get outside the pocket, but there still is pressure. Another player has come by now, so still not a lot Rattler can do. And this is what I would say is the other good aspect of Rattler's game. Watch him just throw the football away. Like, that's a really mature trait in a player, and a really important trait in a player is someone who recognizes that, hey, sometimes the best thing you can do is get rid of the football. Sometimes it's not going to get better than that. So that's really key, and I think that's what a lot of, what whoever ends up drafting him is going to look at is, hey, this is a positive for him. Now, let's go over here. So this is an interesting play, one definitely worth talking about. So it's going to be zone coverage. You see, two receivers running deep routes down the field against this cover 3 zone. Okay, well, let's see what happens. Rattler is going to take the snap. He runs a play action and looks down the field, and it's that route, the one I've circled in yellow. You can kind of see what Rattler sees in this, right? The defender is currently kind of looking the other way. So, hey, well, let's throw it to where no defender is close by and looking in that direction. The issue, when Rattler kind of puts some air under this, the defender then notices it, runs over and gets the interception instead. Not an ideal play. Just isn't. And again, you kind of wonder, like, hey, if that's Josh Allen out there, does he bomb it over the defensive back and get the big completion? But Rattler is not Josh Allen. Rattler does not have the arm strength that, well, it's not bad. It's certainly not elite, and it's not going to be otherworldly. If you try to make these types of throws in the NFL, you're probably not going to hit them too frequently. And to be honest, I just saw in general, I thought Rattler would make some poor decisions at times. He was not a perfect prospect in that area. I also thought going over here, I've talked weirdly a lot this offseason about this specific trait in young quarterbacks. So you see the concept, Rattler's going to roll out towards the top of the screen. You have a receiver who's running in that direction. When this play begins, you're going to see that it's open. And if you can throw an accurate pass here, this is probably going to be a touchdown. But there's two different ways to throw an accurate pass, or throw an inaccurate pass, I should say. One is the obvious one. You spike the ball, you throw it over the receiver's head. Don't give him a chance. The other one is when you still throw a catchable ball, but you don't put it exactly where you want it to be. Really, ideally in this scenario, you want it to get there quickly and lead the receiver towards the top of the screen, as it's essentially a foot race, right? Trying to pass the baton off, you can't make the receiver wait for it. Instead, Rattler's throw, it takes a little bit longer and forces the receiver to go back towards the football, which was still a completion, but was not a touchdown as it could have been had that throw been a little bit further down the field. So, unfortunate, error there, I would say, by Rattler. Not a massive one, but these are just the kind of small things that you would see over the course of evaluating an entire guy's college career. So what do we do from here? What have we learned? What's the thing about someone like Rattler? How do we view him? Well, again, kind of to recap, I think there are some positive traits in him. I do think I could see him as a potential game manager type quarterback, and potentially the upside might be a guy who maybe like Desmond Ridder that makes less mistakes, right? That might be a kind of a comparison I would make. It's just someone who can come in, run an offense relatively well, isn't going to give you the high end plays necessarily, but isn't going to make a ton of massive errors either. That's kind of the hope with someone like Spencer Rattler. I think that the issue with that is just how valuable is someone like that. What do you do with that? And I have a second round grade on someone like Rattler. I do think that in a perfect situation, like if if San Francisco has a backup, but had they not had a backup and they drafted Rattler, and then, Purdy goes down, could Rattler keep that team afloat? Like, yeah, I think that would be kind of the perfect situation for him. I think in a good situation, he could potentially succeed and be a good player. I really do. I do think that if you're drafting him to be a starter, I don't think that's the correct move. And again, there are 6 quarterbacks that I have first round grades on in this draft process. So part of the issue with Rattler, and part of why he might be a lot lower this year than he would have been in other years, is there's just so many other good quarterbacks. And I do think there's some of these non-first round quarterbacks that maybe have higher upside than Rattler, but I do think Rattler feels like he has the higher upside, higher chance of being a player in the NFL than anyone else that's not one of the top 6 guys. So that's another real positive aspect I have with him, I think. So again, he's a unique prospect, right? And just a unique career. And part of me almost wonders if it's worth, just given kind of what the hype was at a certain point, if it's worth, like, given the fact that he has shown some flashes of brilliance in the past, if that means something, potentially. Again, he's had a low floor as well. I think he needs to be in a good situation. And I guess that's kind of the main thing I would look at, is usually with these kind of next tier guys, I'm always a fan of, if you're someone who, if you're the Bears, you draft Caleb Williams, well, maybe in, round 5, draft Jordan Travis as well, just as like a plan B in case Caleb Williams gets hurt in his rookie year. Well, now you have another option because you need a quarterback. For Rattler, I would only do that if you're also in a pretty good situation, like maybe the Bears are, right? A team that feels like they have a good team around the quarterback. Rattler could be a Kirk Cousins, one before the Washington Redskins at the time drafted RG3, but still drafted Kirk Cousins later on in that draft, and Cousins ended up being the guy who lasted longer, interestingly enough. Maybe that's what you do with Rattler. I don't know. Interesting prospect, though. So, yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And, of course, as always, thanks for watching.